big mover in the Chandler market.
Is this a good time to buy? Is this a good time to sell? Take advantage of this unique situation
Hi
where,
there, I'm Scott Wynn. I'm with the Wynn and Egan team at Neo Home Loans, and I've got our real estate professional guest, Celina Acosta, here with us with eXp Realty. And today we are covering the Chandler market update. Welcome, Celina.
yeah, thank you, Scott. I'm happy to be here.
Well, thanks. So put together some market data, and I'm just curious what your take is on the market. According to some of the information that I've put together, it looks like we're in a balanced market, but you're in the trenches every single day working with buyers and sellers. So what are you seeing from the market side of things?
Well, I'm seeing different things in different places. Right now, we're focusing in Chandler. In Chandler, I see it as a seller's market right now. And it's not a crazy seller's market, obvious seller's market. But it is a seller's market in the sense that because there's not a lot of listings and there's not a lot of inventory, as soon as a good house comes on the market, it will get a lot of attention and possibly one or more offers. So at that point, the seller has some advantage, right?
Sure.
Because they get either an offer really quickly or more than one offer, then they have more options
Yeah.
and they don't have to make any price reductions or any concessions at that point. So I'm seeing that a little bit more. I did not see that at the beginning of the year or even at the end of the year, and I'm seeing that more starting like in March. So maybe it's been like 30 days
Sure.
of it. And yeah, so I can see why you see it as a balanced market because it's so close to there.
Right.
However, I see it more on the other side, like the seller's market.
Yeah, and I think what's unique about this market, and we haven't really seen markets like this. I mean, we're in a very unique market. I've been doing this for a long time, and this is one of the most unique markets I've seen where there's almost conflicting metrics. And so we're going
Yes.
to dive into each of these metrics and talk about how it benefits either the seller or the buyer and why there's some balance to it. And yet there's also, like you're suggesting, situations where the seller has more power, if you will, in a negotiation where maybe in other situations a buyer might. So maybe
Yeah.
let's dig into that because one of the first things that you mentioned is inventory. So let's talk about inventory because according to the most recent data, it looks like we have 1.5 months of inventory. And
Mhm.
just generally speaking, a balanced market is somewhere in the 4 to 6 months of inventory. So that's on a very extreme low level of inventory, right?
Correct. Very,
Yeah.
very true. For Phoenix standards, we do 3 months, which is 90 days. For just the general dictionary definition, it's 6 months or 180 days. So you're correct there. So which shows you that we're still on the side of the sellers as a seller's market.
Right. And we've
Mhm.
seen a recent decline, right? I mean, we hit a peak of about 3.9 months, which would put it more into the buyer's market, but that really only
Yes.
lasted about 1 month and
Yeah.
then quickly reversed. So that's what you're talking about at the beginning of the
Yeah.
year. Maybe we weren't
Two,
seeing
three
that.
weeks. It was like a 2, 3 week stint of
Right.
a buyer's market. Yeah.
Right.
And it was still mild. And right now, even this market is mild. So I think Phoenix is notorious for being very like bold and obvious with what's going on. And right now, there's so many nuances and so many like subtleties that's why it's confusing, and that's why is it like, is it a buyer's market? It confuses even experts.
Right. So
Hmm.
even looking at the next metric is one of those things that's confusing, right? Because we have 1.5 months of inventory, but we are sitting at about 72 and a half, 73 days on the market. So that's
Right.
more than it has been in quite some time. And you can see from the chart that we've increased from a low of 20 up to about 72, 73 at this point. So that's
Yes.
kind of on the more balanced, maybe even on the cooler side
Yes.
of a metric. So
Yeah.
what's your take on that? Like, how can we have such low inventory, but yet have such large amount of time on the market?
That's true. Well, I want to tell you something about how our MLS works, and I don't know how other areas or MLSs work. Our MLS, as a listing agent, when you receive an offer, and you can receive the offer within 2 days of the property being listed. You have the option to change that to a pending status, which stops the days or stops the clock,
Right.
or accepted offer, contingent offer, status, which continues to clock in days. However, it tells everybody that you have accepted an offer, right? And everybody else that comes after that would be a backup offer. So those days will still count. So what if you're in escrow for 30 to 35 days, or sometimes even longer? Then that, skews the numbers a little bit. So a lot of those days on the market are actually properties with accepted offers, but they're just like still continue to clocking days. So I
Sure.
just want to bring that up. It's
That's a good
another
point.
little subtlety or nuance that just people that see the numbers, black and white, will never take that into consideration. But somebody like me who's in it, um, has to look at that extra layer that's underneath it and say, okay, well, this shows, accepted. When did it get accepted? And if I see it was within the first 5 days, that's a hot market.
Yeah,
And that is what's happening in Chandler,
sure.
so
Yeah. If we look relatively, though, I mean, if we go back to probably June of last year, it was only 20 days on market. So
uh-huh.
we're almost, I mean, we're triple that at this point,
Yes,
right? So it's definitely showing that the market has definitely cooled from that time last year.
that's
But
true. And that's true, but also I have another explanation for that. That's another little subtlety.
sure.
That last year was a very different market, crazy market. We would get, as a listing agent, we would get multiple in the 20s, sometimes offers, 20s and
Yes.
30s. So at that point, we would definitely choose, and it's up to our discretion and then what the seller wants. We would choose to change the status of that listing to pending, because we had so
You didn't want
many.
any more offers. You
We
had
don't
enough.
want any more offers. We don't
Right.
want to tell buyers we're still taking backups or anything like that,
Got
because
it.
we probably had 10 backups.
So what's your
So
best guess as to what the actual days on market then are? I mean, it's completely different markets. So you wanted to take it off. You didn't want any more offers because you didn't need any more. So it was 20 days back then. What's your best guess as to what you think the actual days on market are right now based on that insight that you gave us?
yeah, it depends. I think maybe the real days on the market, maybe it's 30 to 60.
Okay. So
And
a little
again,
bit
it depends
expanded,
on
but
the property. Yeah, it depends on the property, on the house, and some houses sell faster than others. But if we're
sure.
talking about Chandler, and then if we're gonna take an average, I would say that, and it's still higher than last year,
Sure.
right?
Yep.
But it's still, in that zone of it being normal,
Yep.
normal, that you sold your house within a month or two.
Right.
Hmm.
So I think the big mover in the Chandler market this month is the increase in sales. And it's up about 27% from the previous month. So activity is definitely starting to pick up. We went
Yes.
up 62 additional closings, up to 287 from the previous month of 225. So that's really the market mover in Chandler. What do you think has caused that bump up in sales?
It could be pent-up demand that were kind of there last year, maybe there at the end of the year or the fall, kind of like the last 2 quarters of the year, just waiting. Because remember how the interest rate changed very suddenly last summer and it doubled, right? So
Right.
that's kind of like shocking, and it makes you want to wait. Some people chose to wait, some people were priced out. So whatever the situation is, but the demand was always there.
Sure.
They still wanted a house. They still needed a house. People are still forming households as we speak, right? So some of those people are people that were kind of back from last year, and then some people are new people that already decided, you know what, this is the new normal, and if I'm going to take action, I'm going to take action now.
Right.
And then prices have come down
Yeah.
around 10%, in some areas, even more. And that's another maybe incentive or motivation of, yeah, interest rates are still higher than they were in 2021 or the beginning of 2022. But it's been a while. So now I kind of accepted that.
Right.
And I kind of want to get a house.
And we've seen that, right? I mean, if we
Hmm.
look at the median sales price, which is the next metric we look at, we're down 5,000 from the previous month. We're down 62,000 from the
Hmm.
year before as far as the median home price. And so
Yeah.
to your point, yes, interest rates did jump up quite a bit, which took some people out of the market because of an affordability aspect. But those lower prices are probably allowing some people to enter back in. And we'll talk about interest rates here in a moment, but interest rates have recently dropped just a little bit. And so I
Hmm.
think between the fact that home prices are down a little bit, as well as interest rates coming down just slightly, those two things combined are making it maybe a little bit more affordable to people to re-enter the market. Would you agree that that is the
Yes,
case?
I do agree with that. And even the people that I meet or that are out there, I think it's people that, like you said, either accepted, the faith, their faith of like the interest rates, but also see, hey, this house, let's just take any neighborhood of Chandler. This house used to be 600 and now it's 550. It's more palatable.
Right.
It feels better. It feels more affordable. And then let me see what I can do with interest rates, because some people understand that interest rates are temporary. So they think I'll buy it now at the 7% or 6.5%, whatever, wherever it is. But then they have that hope that in the next couple of years it could go back to maybe 4 or 5, and then
Sure.
that's when they can refi, right?
Got it. So I
Yeah.
think one of the natural questions that people would ask when we look at how things have been trending with home prices is, have we hit the bottom? Do you think that we've hit the bottom? Do you think we're going to continue to see prices reduce, or do you think that things are going to start heading back up now?
I don't think we've hit the bottom. However, I don't think the bottom is rock bottom. So I think we're still gonna do a little bit of this, and then in different areas a little bit more. In some areas are gonna stay put, because the metro area is large. Even within the same city, some zip codes are stronger than others, than the
Sure.
zip code across the
More
street.
demand.
And
Right.
demand,
Yep.
exactly. So
Got it.
I don't think, just to answer your question, we have seen the bottom. However, I don't think the bottom is like, oh, we went from 400 to 200. It's not
Right.
going to be like
Yeah.
that.
Not a significant, like 20-30% drop. If anything, pretty minimal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Got it.
Hmm.
So I think another indicator, which is our next metric, is the sold to list ratio, meaning when somebody lists the home, how much does it actually sell for? And we've seen an increase over the last 4 months or so. We hit a low of about 96.5%. Now we're up 0.5% from last month to 97.8. To me, that kind of indicates that the market is heating up a little bit with sales
Yes.
increasing, the sold to list ratio getting closer to that 100% mark. I think that to me is an indicator that maybe the market is definitely bottoming out. Maybe we're not completely to the bottom, but it's an indicator to me that we're going to start kind of going back up again. Would you agree, or do you have another
Yes,
take on that?
I do agree, and it could also be not be a trend right now. I know it's like you're taking it from, let's say, what, last month or the couple months ago to now. Um, I do agree that it's an indicator that things are heating up, and they can go back up again. But I think it's also an indicator that as time goes by, sellers and a combination of listing agents and the sellers are pricing homes more realistically. And then that makes them move a little faster because they get it now. They
Got it.
they cannot overprice it.
Yeah, that's a good point for sure.
Mhm.
Another indicator on that side is the seller paid closing costs. And we're starting to see a decrease in that. We're
Mhm.
starting to see a decrease in the amount of closing costs, but also the number of sellers that are willing to offer closing costs. So, with the fact that the sold to list ratio is decreasing and the amount of seller paid closing costs is also decreasing, that again indicates to me that it's becoming more of a seller's market. To your point at the beginning, yeah, it's
Yes.
balanced in some ways, but definitely more towards the seller side because of the lack of inventory, right?
Yes. And it's so funny that you touch on that, because it's so, again, one of those subtleties depending on where and what type of house. And it could be like a 10-minute drive from each other, and two very, very different things are gonna happen. Um, I've been in situations where, I'm getting seller concessions up to 4%, right? And then maybe like another in another town next over, I get nothing. And but then the buyer like understands that this house is not something he's gonna see again, frequently, and the seller knows that too. So sometimes, that is like, it fluctuates too depending on where you are.
Absolutely.
But here in Chandler, I would say, yeah, it's a little bit less than half of the people are giving, concessions. And from like between five to maybe $8,000. That's what I've seen here. Whereas in other places like in Maricopa, I can get $18,000 in concessions.
Right. Well,
You know,
every situation is different. Every market is
exactly,
different. Every seller,
exactly.
every buyer, the need, all those sorts of things
Hmm.
certainly play
You just need
into
to
the
know where you
dynamic.
are in order to know what to ask.
Right. Exactly. That's the benefit of working with a professional real estate
Hmm.
agent like yourself, so that you know how to approach the seller and when it's appropriate, when it's not, and how you're going to get the best deal for somebody that's looking
Yeah,
to.
and of course, let's say I'm representing the buyer. I want everything that I can get for my buyer, and but I also coach them into how realistic that is. So
Sure.
it's like a dance, you know.
Right. Yep.
So yeah,
So let's
so
talk a
yeah.
little bit about interest rates. Interest rates have started declining.
Hmm.
My take on the reason why that's happening is because we're starting to see inflation come down a little bit. And mortgage rates are so closely tied to inflation. Inflation is really a leading indicator of where mortgage rates will go. So as inflation spiked, we saw a drastic increase in mortgage rates. And as it comes down, we're expecting to see mortgage rates to come down right along with inflation. And
Yeah.
there's a few things that are anticipated to happen here in May with the release of the CPI, which is the inflation number. And we're
Hmm.
fully expecting that that's going to drop, which I think is going to help us bring interest rates even lower. To me, what that means is that that's going to bring a lot of buyers back into the market. Like we've said, right? Prices coming down, interest rates coming down a little bit has
Yeah.
provided maybe the affordability side of things. So interest rates dropping even further, maybe even into the fives,
Hmm.
could really bring a large amount of competition and buyers back into the market. So do you think that that's likely what we're going to see, and that maybe we're in a window of opportunity for buyers right now?
I think we're in a window of opportunity for buyers because it's always good. First of all, you buy and sell when it's good for you, right? Not because the headline said
Right.
so.
Not trying to time the market.
Um, exactly. But let's say that, and neither of us know what's going to happen, but you're very good at watching those metrics about inflation and the interest rate and all that. So you're more of the expert there. I think that I don't know what's going to happen for the interest rate. I don't think it's going to come down in May. I don't think inflation is going to show us like down, and then like the interest rates are going to. That's what I think. I think that we're still going to hover in around the high sixes to sevens for a while. I still see inflation being high. But again, you know more about
Sure.
this.
And we'll provide
And
some of the market data as to why I believe it's going to come down. It's largely
mhm,
related to shelter costs being a portion of the inflation number. And the
mhm,
problem is that the shelter costs lag for a few months. And so we're already realizing and seeing that the shelter costs have reduced, but they haven't been reflected in the inflation numbers because of that lag. And so that's what's
mhm.
anticipated to be released in May, and why
Yeah.
we anticipate that to be the case. So we'll
No,
make sure that
and I
include that.
hope so.
Yeah.
But that's an even more of of us telling the buyer, don't be buying when everybody's buying, right? So right now, take advantage of this unique situation where you are able to get closing cost assistance from the seller, or you're in a better environment when there's not a lot of competition, so you can walk into a house that you like, and might be the only buyer.
Exactly.
So and it's a great feeling, to say I'm the only buyer. Let me see what I can do here, what
Totally.
kind of deal I can get. So this is happening now.
Right.
What if in May, there, like you said, we have a reduction in the interest rate, significant reduction of the interest rate, and everybody's gonna come in. And then that's what creates that environment that buyers don't like, of competition and desperation, and what am I
And
gonna
increasing
do?
home prices.
Increasing home
Yep.
prices, no closing costs, and not to have that ability to lower your interest rate with
One thing I should mention at this particular point is that one of the things we're doing for buyers to help them take advantage of what we believe is a window of opportunity in the market is our certainty guarantee. And what that
hmm
allows people to do is buy a home now. Yes, the rate's a little bit higher. You might be thinking
hmm
you'd be better off waiting to get a lower interest rate. But to our point, the competition is going to increase, and that's going to make it more difficult to buy a home and probably more expensive in terms of prices. So if you can buy
yes.
now while the competition is lower, but interest rates are a little bit higher, what we're offering to our clients is a free, no cost refinance within 2 years
That's
after
awesome.
closing. So that way you can buy with less competition and then refinance without a cost to lower
Mhm.
interest rate once they drop. So that could be a great way for people to enter in the market and take
That's an
advantage of the window
amazing,
of
yeah, that's an
opportunity.
amazing program because a lot of people that are entering the market now are entering with the idea of I'm going to refinance in like 2 years, right? So they already like know that
Right.
that's what they're going to do, but little do they know that it could be free,
Exactly.
right? If
Exactly.
they do it with you.
Well, there you go. Well, I really appreciate your perspective on the market. Is there anything else that you want to make sure that you share about your business, the market, anything like that that would be valuable to people watching?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great market. People always say, "Is this a good time to buy? Is this a good time to sell?" It is, and it's like, well, I don't want to sound trite because a real estate agents may always say
Sure.
it's a great time, you know. I think it is because it's like that unique situation where it's a one of a kind, one in a lifetime of where we are right now in terms of the prices and the interest rate and the confusion and like what's paralyzing people from taking action. So if you are wanting to buy a house, right? And maybe this is your market. You know, it's not gonna be the market when your brother or your mother or your best friend bought a house. Every market is different and every situation is different and experience is different. So whatever happened, you know, with the people that you know may not be for you. And I wouldn't miss this opportunity. I think everything should start with a conversation,
Absolutely.
you know, talking to somebody that's there every day, and I think they're gonna notice that this is a great market.
Right. And
Yeah.
it's not about timing the market as you explained. It's
Mhm.
about time in the market. The longer you own the home, the more you can ride out the ups and downs and you'll come out positive in the end. So,
Exactly.
well,
Exactly.
thank you so much for your contribution to
Yeah,
this
thank you, Scott.
conversation and your perspective. And we'll certainly have your contact information available for anybody who's interested in possibly purchasing in the Chandler
Awesome.
area.
Okay, great. Thank you so
Thanks, Celina.
much.